Hello and welcome to Erica Reacts to Phish. We are in our countdown to the Phish Spring Tour. Yesterday I reacted to Chalk Dust Torture and I got raving reviews from the Phish community in my comments. They said, this is the best reaction video I've ever done. And I'm like, yeah, just be patient with me, y'all. I can figure out what I'm doing. But as we discussed yesterday, there's this tour statistics, and I'm kind of going down most performed things. And the people in the comments also said it's really important I listen to Harry Hood. Harry Hood's up here. It's there. And then someone else told me that once they start the West Coast tour, I guess there's like Portland and I think Seattle before they get to San Francisco. They said anything they play in Portland won't be played in San Francisco. Because, you know, there's two, and every night's a different thing. So I'm like, well, that's crazy. So even if I listen to all the top 10 things of all time, it's possible that they'll be played in Seattle and Portland before they get to San Francisco, and then they won't even play them anyway. But whatever. Nonetheless, someone recommended this 1996, December 6th version of Harry Hood as one of the best videos. Let's go for it. And I will try my best to do this video in my best way possible. Reggae.
Go out, Harry, Harry, where do you go when the lights go out? Harry, Harry, where do you go when the lights go out? Harry, Harry, where do Thank you, Mr. Miner. 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 Thank you, Mr. Miner.
Oh, it just ends. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, reaction time. All right, so some of you will be all happy because what was the feedback from my last video? It was that, oh my God, you started jamming along and we are so happy. Well, I will say that I learned a lot about how the jam structure works just by doing that. Now, as I am as a person, and as a musician, I learn by ear a lot. And again, you know what I did in music school is I took composition with Morten Lauritsen, who is a choral composer. But what did we do to learn composition? We literally mimicked classical composers. So we started out with like a Passacaglia from the Baroque era, and then we had to write our own Passacaglia. So in general, with anything and anytime I'm writing a song, you kind of model it off of a song that exists, and then you kind of build and change, and you see what you can change. And so when I write songs, my favorite structure that most of my songs follow Very simple. I do a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. It's a pretty solid song structure, in my opinion. Now, what was going on? So what I learned, and I had not really previously even thought to do in previous things, as you saw in the end, I got this chord progression down. Once they got back to the music, whatever, not the music, they got back to the singing in the very end. That was when they got to the D major, A, and a G, which is very simple. D major, A, and a G. Okay, so that was a very simple chord progression, which we like, right? During that improv section, what was going on is they were all in D major. So this was the first jam, well, maybe not the first, but look, I wasn't really analyzing the jams prior to my Phish analysis journey. I was just kind of reacting. And at first, again, everyone was like, why were you commenting on their appearance? I was like, literally, I'd never seen these people before. I know this is weird, but I was like 2024, like 2024 was the year I first saw what Trey looks like. I'd like heard of the name. I had never once seen him, okay? Like if he had passed me in an airport, I would have not known who he was, okay? So the first video when I was like, oh my God, and I was looking at the modern versions of them, and I was like, Paige looks like a Midwest dad who just got, you know what I mean? And like Fishman, I don't know, I said crazy stuff. Oh, he was the mad scientist, and Fishman was the one that looked like he just got pulled off of a barbecue in the Midwest to like, hey, we need a drummer, you know? So I had not seen the young versions of them. I had not even seen what they look like. So that's why I was just so shocked. And I was just like, oh, this is Phish. This is what the big deal is about. And so then once I got past that, and then I got past my first, and remember the first song I heard was Mole, which is like arguably not that good compared to their old stuff, okay? So I was like, and it's a Mike song, sorry. But it wasn't that good. Look, I know the Beatles, okay? I grew up with the Beatles, very strongly with the Beatles. I know like a lot about the Beatles. I've listened to every single Beatles album. So for example, you're like, oh, it's a Ringo song, right? And you're like, yeah, it's a Ringo song. Okay, so anyway, with like Mole, it's like, oh, it's a Mike song, you know? So I get that. I just didn't understand that yet. I was new. Okay, this one, you know, it seems pretty good. I want to look up the lyrics here because I couldn't really understand. It wasn't that much. That's what I thought. Harry, Harry, where do you go when the lights go out? Harry, Harry, where do you go? Thank you, Mr. Minor. Thank you, Mr. Hood. I can feel good. I can feel good about Hood. What does Phish.net say? Do they give you like interpretations? No, they don't. Well, that's useless. Anyway, the point is, I realized they were in this like D major thing. And so you could just jam along. If you just stayed in the D major scale, you were basically in the jam in whatever you did. And they did not venture out. Like in other ones, when I told you like they're playing in different keys and they're creating tensions, that's if one of them is playing a D major scale. Let's say another person's playing like completely contrasting scale to that. For example, would be like a B flat major scale or something. If someone's like that, like that clashes, right? So no, in this one, everyone was just kind of living in this. Now sometimes it was a more pentatonic kind of, especially the guitar solos were more pentatonic, like. Like that. So that skips out all the half steps in the scale. Because if you play a scale, it's whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Okay? But that has a very pull, some people don't like that pull. So in these pentatonic scales, you get this. And it just sounds very open. Okay? So a lot of Trey's guitar solos are using pentatonic scales. And then in the piano, in the beginning, I heard some of these like kind of more open. You kind of hear fourths and fifths more in octaves. I didn't really hear any like seconds or thirds. Really no thirds. I don't think they like thirds at all. It's like too closed. Again, whenever you have a third in a chord, like if we're in D major, you have this third. That makes it very major scale. Okay, major chord. Minor makes it minor. Now if you take it out, it sounds very more open and hollow, like that, versus that, it gives you like a major sound. So again, most of what you hear is kind of like Paige doing stuff like fourth to fifth. At least that's what I heard kind of in the beginning. Also, Oh, that was like, oh, it's a reggae opening, whatever. Oh, then there was the drumming part. I forgot about that. That was really random. I think it's cool. I mean, look, I just put tap dancing on my latest song. Why not? You know, why not have the guitarist do a random drum? I don't know enough about percussion to know what that is. All I know is it has a very interesting muted sound. Like when it hits, it doesn't ring. It kind of has like a kind of like I don't know what to call that, but that's what the sound to me sounds like. It's kind of like anyway, that's the impression of the drum. I don't know what it's called. Maybe it's some kind of xylophone, but I don't think it's like a traditional xylophone. But it has something like that. It's a pitched percussion instrument that I don't know exactly. But yes, that was interesting.
Harry, Harry, where do you go when the light?
I liked that they sang harmony here. Yeah, that was the D major jam for. Okay, so basically form structures. Like I think the reggae part maybe it's even a part of the song. It could be. I don't know. I'm just gonna guess. Maybe it was. But then people didn't really start cheering here. Or they do. Maybe they knew it was here with it. It sounded like a reggae. So you have the opening section where Trey's playing the xylophone thing. Then we get the piano. With those parallel fourths.
When the lights go out, Harry, Harry, where do you go when the lights go out?
Where do you go when the lights go out? Where do you go when the lights go? It was like one and Harry. I was conducting about part because it was da 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 da. I was like, I like that.
Harry.
Oh yeah, this part. Thank you, Mister. At least in one of the hands.
Thank you, Mr. Miner. Thank you, Mr. Miner. Thank you, Mr. Miner. Thank you, Mr. Miner.
Harmony. Anyway, that was nice. Then they go on like 15-minute jam. No, it was like 10 minutes. Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was cool. Minimal words, minimal structure. Though I would, again, I don't know if this jam is composed or whether this jam is improv. I don't know. It's my first time hearing it. I'd have to hear a different version of it to compare, right? It could be either. It could have been like, hey, we're just gonna like stay in D major for a long time. Because I did see Trey do the whole like you know, at the end when he's like, Fishman, we're ending. That whole thing he did over here. He gave he gave the sign. Anyway, so yes, at some point he gave a sign, like, we're moving on. But yeah, I liked it. It's very vibey, you know? Again, when you're just living in D major kind of scale, and that's why there's a lot of A's in it, because D and A makes it D5. There's a lot of A's. So yeah, that was cool. Again, in other ones I've heard, there's just a lot more different keys going on and more tension. This was just a lot of, what is it? It's like you're just kind of chilling. You're in the same place. You just got to live in the moment and not think about it too much, which I think is hard in today's day and age with technology and phones and TikTok and YouTube shorts and YouTube, whatever. It's like, and we have the ability to play anything we want on YouTube and Spotify. And then, so just to kind of listen to something and listen to it for a long time, and where not much is happening, like a lot is happening, but it's just kind of sound candy per se. If you understand the scales and stuff, you're like, okay, they're just playing a lot of D major improv stuff, whatever. But yeah, again, I don't, it's a vibe. It wasn't music, like a type of music I ever listened to growing up. Because again, I grew up very strictly on the Beatles. That's what my parents liked the most. So I listened to the Beatles a lot. And then when I was a kid, I was listening to They Might Be Giants, which is quirky and weird. And then kind of just like 90s pop, 90s pop rock. I used to see bumper stickers. Everyone used to have those little like metal fish signs on their car, like the fish magnet, whatever. And I used to see that as a kid because, again, in 1995, I was like 10, 9, something like that. So I was like, what is that? Like, what's going on? But then for me, Gen X was my babysitters. So I thought like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, like I thought Matthew Broderick was like the coolest person on the planet, and all those like Brad Pitt movies. I was like, wow, those people are so cool. So like my babysitters were like 16 when I was, 5, 6, 7. And so they were just like the coolest people ever. And so that's why, to me, that's like what Gen X is. Gen X is the people who are my babysitters, who are always a little older than me, and they just kind of were ahead of things that I was not part of. So I was not around, and I was too little in 1996 to ever have gone to a concert or anything like this. So for me, again, it's just discovering something that I never knew of. I mean, I knew of, I had never listened to, attended concert, played a single track. And I'm really glad I only listen to the live stuff and I don't listen to a recorded album, because that's what the fans told me to do. So I'm just listening to the fans and taking it one track at a time to just kind of really experience it as an individual. Every song has its own spirit, So I'm just trying to live in this moment. That's what I like about live performances. It was a moment in time that was captured once. And luckily, thanks to video and recordings, we have a little snippet of that moment. It will never be the same as if you had been there in person, but it's just a little snippet in time, and this was the only time it was ever performed this exact way, and that's what's beautiful about live performance. And so I'm glad I was able to just see this snippet in time, but even better if you were there. Wow, I would love to hear about that. And yes, I'd love to hear about people's experience firsthand, and maybe I'll interview people one day about stuff like that, because it just interests me. And I'm kind of a historian in a way, so I like to preserve the past. And I think we learn a lot from our previous generations and older generations, and even people my own age, and I'm not that young anymore, but I don't know. I think there's something in just reliving memories that we can pass down to future generations. So yeah, overall, Harryhood, I give it a good rating. Not many words, but pretty song. kind of weird stuff, some experimental things like with the percussion in the beginning, and there's some like interesting synth choices on the keyboards in the beginning that I thought were cool. I don't know if it's called like the Wurlitzer, like it just has this very distinctive electric piano sound. So it's just very distinctive. I was like, oh, that's distinctive, you know? So anyway, I thought it was interesting. Glad it's off my list now because I have a lot more to go. So if you have any recommendations for what I should listen to next, let me know. Again, I'm trying to stick to, I know it's not good to just go by what they played last year because that may not be indicative, but you know, average set list, I don't know. This is, yeah. So I don't know, maybe I should listen to this Sigma Oasis. I haven't listened to any of these ones in this top. I don't think I've listened to any of those. So please recommend and have a great day. And I'll see you next time on Erica Reacts to Phish.
Harry, Harry, where do you go when the lights go out?